Welcome to another edition of Willow World. My name's Joshua Ridley. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Willow. I'm here with Peter Menegazzo. Hi, Peter.
Hi, Josh. How are you?
What's your role at Investa?
So my role is Chief Investment Officer. It's a role that I'm fortunate enough to have quite good visibility across our business, looking after divisions such as capital transactions, new business, technology, information technology, innovation, marketing and communications, as well as sort of forging new investor relationships.
It's a quite broad role there, Peter. And how has 2020 been for you? It's obviously we've had this enormous shift. The pandemic has changed a lot of businesses. But in your role, what's it been like?
Look, it's been fascinating. I think it's a real roller coaster. Things have changed quite rapidly, and what I've found is communication with all kind of key stakeholders has been absolutely paramount to stay on top of, the emerging trends, the key decisions that are being made, and ultimately how investors are feeling about the current environment. And it's shifting every week.
And so how have you used, part of your role is technology, how have you used technology to help you in that process?
Well, first and foremost, our business really seamlessly continued to operate because of technology. We were able to switch off on a Friday and from Monday work from home. We did not miss a beat. Our technology team did an amazing job to keep the business operating. So, that was by and large, I think, really underestimated because there was so much work that went in behind the scenes to make sure that seamless transition. But, as a business, we have it's almost like in our DNA, that sort of innovation and striving to look for new trends.
Yep.
And look, technology is an area that we have a pretty significant focus on at the moment, irrespective of COVID. It was a road we were already starting to walk down.
Yeah, indeed. And obviously working with you closely over some 7 years now, it has struck us as we've worked in other places around the world with other customers where you have been as a business, you're going there first. You're one of those first adopters. It's interesting also looking at other sectors like retail, how Walmart's been able to shift from being sort of a very much a store kind of model to an online model. And how have those investments in technology for you helped you be more adaptive, helped you be more flexible as you've had to transition in this very difficult time, I suppose, where tenants aren't coming into the buildings, governments are asking for regulations that you wouldn't have had to have before, like social distancing. What's it been like? What are you thinking?
Look, it's been absolutely challenging because, I think, be honest and say that we're probably not as advanced on the technology side as what we probably needed to be at this point. And by that I mean, we're doing some really wonderful things within our buildings and had made some great inroads. But when it comes to sort of things like sort of capturing sort of accurate occupancy data within the buildings, it's a little bit more challenging, and there's still quite a manual kind of process to it. So, what it's really entailed is our IT team working very closely with our operations team to really try and find the most efficient and most accurate information available. And if nothing else, if I sit back and think about the last 7 or 8 months, it sort of highlights the need to continue to probably travel down the road at a faster rate of knots. Yeah,
I'm seeing that all over the place. It's like the necessity being the mother of innovation in a way.
Yeah.
And sort of, okay, we were doing something as an organisation. And in fact, you've been doing a lot more than many other organisations, in fact, from our vantage point. But I feel you're absolutely spot on looking at this now and go, how do we accelerate that? How do we take the base of what we've been doing and then move forward on that basis? So what are some of the things that you'd like to be able to do moving forward, Peter?
Look, first and foremost, I'll start with really the work we've been doing with Willow, which has been a great partnership for us over the last, 6 or 7 years, and has started sort of through our development business, but quickly, is quickly sort of spreading through our operations part of the business as well. If I think about the work we're doing on the digital twin, and in my own view, I really think we're just seeing the tip of the iceberg in terms of the benefits we're going to get from that type of technology. And what it's actually done is also sort of exercise the mind to say, well, if we can do it when we're building a building, can we do it in the existing built environment?
Yes.
Because, as I said, the sort of focus on technology is also a focus on data. And I think, data, you kind of heard it before, data is the new oil. We need to put ourselves in a position where we have the right level of data available at our fingertips real time. And, in my mind, we're going to, that's going to kind of hold us in really good stead to make better business decisions for the future. So, kind of continuing that work we're doing with you to see if we can expand that remit into the rest of the portfolio is certainly a priority. And as you know, there's already work continuing on that front.
It's, as you said earlier, the challenge is to go, how do you go quickly and not a huge amount of cost, but show that value? Just putting your CIO hat on again, looking at it, future state, you've got lots of funds that you're talking to that are over the seas and investing in other platforms. I mean, what could be the art of the possible if you were able to sort of get data from the building, say occupancy data, roll that up across your portfolio and then be able to report that back to your funds? I mean, how could you sort of see that translating into the future?
Look, I think, identifying the right level of information is to share with investors important. I think the danger with kind of capturing all this data is you can get lost in it. So, we're really making sure we're taking a very staged approach to understanding what the business case is. But I'm also of the belief that, as we learn new things, areas that we didn't even know kind of could teach us, or information that we're finding out through the portfolio will have unintended consequences of making better decisions in other areas as well. Yeah.
And Peter, what's your vision for the company in terms of being the manager that the occupants want to work to be involved with? What's it like? Is your vision for the business to be the best platform for investors to invest in? What are you thinking there?
Look, from our perspective, we just want to be the best integrated office manager, not only in the country but around the world. And I think, whilst we only operate in Australia, I really do think we punch above our weight.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Because, and I really do believe it's because of two things. It's because of our structure, our integrated structure, where we sort of have all the operational elements contained within our business. And what that means is basically investor employees are really focused on all these areas. And that sort of brings me to the second point of our magic, I think, and that is our people. Right. And, the extra care and diligence they take. I think you just get a better result than sort of outsourcing a lot of these sort of operational areas. And I think our ability to pivot, say, for instance, at the start of the pandemic, where our directors and our stakeholders and investors were really seeking information to understand what was going on.
Right.
The feedback we had from our stakeholders was, our reporting was second to none. It was really unrivaled, and it's really a testament to the business that the care and diligence taken was able to sort of provide that relevant information in a quick way. And I think that really is testament to what I want what we want Investa to be, and that is the best across the ground.
Yes.
Delivering the best returns, delivering new ways of doing things, sort of forging new ideas.
Yes.
And all for the benefit of our investors.
Yeah, it's very good to hear that from you, because I've actually seen that, Peter, in the way you've interacted with us. And you could have seen us as a vendor or a supplier, but you chose that word partner. And for us as a partner of yours, it's for us to understand how we can help you with that vision and enable that vision. Yeah. One other bit that I find very interesting is that the work you're doing with Oxford, and Oxford coming into the Australian market, working with them very closely as a platform, and then looking at how that information, the data, could be streaming back up to Oxford. I mean, Oxford, like you, are a company that's very interested in looking at data. They're looking at how they can become that, that platform as well. How do you see that working into the future?
Look, I think everything we're doing with Oxford, we're really, we're on the same page.
Yes.
So, we all want to make sure that we are focused on what's coming down the pipeline, and this idea of understanding the data that's coming out of our portfolio to be able to make better decisions. I think they are absolutely on the same page on that. We've just run a really interesting, or really at the back end of an interesting project we're running in collaboration with them, and a artificial intelligence platform called Spark Beyond, called Project Alpha, and it is really about identifying the facets and reasons why an investment performs what it does. And this is across a number of markets, and we're mining data available, publicly available data. We're also looking at data available from our own portfolios to try and determine really that alpha that delivers that outperformance. And it's been it is so far a fascinating insight.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's great to be working with Oxford and other groups that share that vision. For the younger people that listen into these the Willow World, what would you say to them about leading and in 2020 with the challenges that we've faced? What are some of the lessons that you've learned?
Look, I touched on it earlier. Communication has been really the thing that's got us through this year. If I think about the way the pandemic kind of struck and how quickly that sort of week or two sort of ended up sort of us working from home. As an executive group and as the leaders within the business, we really sort of identified the need to sort of keep our people engaged, and that came down to sort of communication. But what it also highlighted to me, and I know this is subject to quite a lot of debate in the market, is the value of relationships. Information
So
was key, and it wasn't. If we needed to understand something, there was always someone out of the executive group or someone across the business could pick up the phone and talk to sort of partners and people we were doing business with. And that became so important because the information flow was so rapid. We ended up collaborating quite a bit with peers within the industry as well, as we sort of worked out ways to manage the portfolio and manage the buildings in the pandemic. So, for me, communication, absolutely, you need to make sure that you are working on relationships every day, because, the speed upon which the pandemic struck was such that, you needed to call on those relationships. And so, the advice I would give, that come to work every day, because you don't know what tomorrow brings. Come to work every day with that attitude of sort of wanting to meet new people, forge new relationships, because you never know when you're actually going to need them.
And I think you make a very important point there, Peter, and that is that it's not just about those internal relationships, those external relationships, even with competitors and suppliers and providers. So it's treating them in the same manner and building those friendships, those relationships, because it's not just the good times, it's for those times that when it is tough and you need to lean on each other to get through those difficult seasons. Well, Peter, it's a beautiful spring day here in Sydney. I was just commenting when I walked in, how many people on the street, and we're seeing the city activate again. What's your view? What's your outlook for Australia?
Look, I think investment markets are going to be challenging. There is absolutely no doubt about it. But as I look across the world, I think Australia is well placed. You use the word amazing. I think we do. We live in an amazing country, and I think the decisions that the politicians have made, quite big policies on the run. I think they've done a pretty reasonable job. You're never going to get everything right, but I think on balance we're on the right side of those decisions. And the thing that's really sort of lacking at the moment is that sort of investor confidence. But I think the outlook is, on a relative basis, Australia is looking a lot better than other regions around the world. I think our continued ties to Asia, which again, I think the pandemic is really more under control than other parts of the world.
Yes.
So our trading partners are in this part of the world. So I think we are in a reasonably strong position. And kind of, why do I say that? Well, I also look at the way that global investors are looking at our country, and there is a little bit of activity at the moment. We know there's a lot of investors looking around the world saying, where am I going to deploy my capital? and more often than not, Australia is screening very, very well.
Yes.
And to that end, we have seen a number of transactions sort of clear the market. So there is some liquidity within the market. So look, I'm not optimistic person to begin with, but I am absolutely seeing the positives. That we're sort of in the future, sort of
Yes.
relative to where we are in Australia.
Well, I just want to thank you, Peter, for joining us today. Also, thank you for the past 6 or 7 years where you as a business have really been a partner of ours, and you can't just do it in isolation. So I really appreciate the journey. Looking forward to what's coming up. 2020 has been a really challenging year for us and you and all your tenants, your investors. But I just feel very strongly that leaders like yourself and leaders like Investa have opportunity to make some amazing impact. So thanks for joining us for this edition of Willow World. Looking forward to sharing with you shortly.